Hernan, would you just get that off the screen? Yep, thank you.
Yeah. For a moment, we can take a lead now.
Are y'all ready? Or is it just me that's ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Sometimes I feel like I don't train y'all very well. So when if a Tibetan teacher ever comes, it's, I'll be going, so basically, it's a good idea that when the teacher sits down, you shut up. It's a real simple thing. It's like, it's just a sign of respect, So I know we didn't learn that in school. So anyway, but sometimes I just feel like I'm not doing my job because I know that the Tibetan teachers, it's a different culture, first of all. But it's also about respect for the Dharma. It's like this seat, these high seats, the thrones, they're all about the teachings. It's about, and it's about respect for the teachings. So the teacher generally is higher than the students, is basically what that's about. In the Tibetan system, you'll see, the teaching seat get higher and higher depending on the qualities of the teacher. Like His Holiness has a really high thrones, and Rinpoches have high thrones. Is there something?
It's on, but yeah, I don't know if
it's, okay, yeah,
why it's producing that static.
Yeah. It was off.
It was off. Oh, okay, so now it's on. Thank you, Hernan. So generally, and y'all all are really good about, when I come in, you stand up, which is totally appropriate. It's just that we have the challenge that I have to set up my computer. So it's, I'm not going to be just prostrating and sitting down. I have to set up the computer. So, that creates a sort of disconnect. So, well, once I get once I get ready to prostrate, and I do pay attention to the clock. So, if it's getting to be a couple of minutes before 11, that's a signal to kind of, okay, let's get my mind ready for this, settle down. It's hard because we like to say hello to each other. This is our community. So, all that stuff. And but it's still, there's a point at which we want to say, okay, these teachings are valuable. Let's not waste a second of it, and that's kind of what's behind it. It has nothing to do with me. It has to do with the Buddha's words. So, and I'm really very casual. I don't care. I don't take offense, and nobody really takes offense. But it is about generating merit for you. That you see the importance, you value it, and so you're ready for it. So anyway. I'm preparing my mind to go see Ling Rinpoche in North Carolina in May or whatever, so that I behave properly. So, okay, so let's take a moment to get comfortable in our seats. I hope the screen at home has gotten better, but it may be your own. Oh, I see it. I'm bad up here. Mine's fine. It's the same internet. Who knows? Oh, So take a moment to kind of check in with your body and your mind. If you have any spots of tension, try to breathe into them. And take a moment to think about the reason that you come or came today. In spite of the rain. And try to generate a positive intention to use this time well. So some of the ways that there are 4 reminders that are taught that can help us set a good intention for whatever we do. One is remembering that the rarity of our precious human rebirth, recognizing that most beings on the planet do not have the opportunity to have free time to be able to do something like this, or the resources to do it, or a teacher in their midst, or Zoom at home. It's really thinking about, wow, like on the way here, I was just so delighted because I had a working windshield wiper. It was a delight. I just am thinking, oh, this is really wonderful. And when I was young, I was dating a guy. In fact, he was the nephew of William F. Buckley. And he was in his car, the windshield wiper had flown off. So he was just having to, fortunately, he was tall, but he would lean out and clear the windshield. I bet you there are a lot of people who still live like that. So, that's just a tiny example and a totally unimportant one. But just, this reminder that our situation, no matter how much suffering we're experiencing, is so much better than most beings on this planet. So how fortunate we are. And we're making good use of it, We're pursuing our spiritual journey. We show up to classes, we try to listen. That's a wonderful thing. And secondly is death and impermanence. Second reminder, this will end. These good conditions, these resources, this will all end. Many people, they'll ask every now and then, oh, have you seen so-and-so lately? And they were students that used to come rather regularly, but now they are unable. They're physically not able to get here anymore, or they've passed away. And this will happen to us. So we really want to take advantage of every moment of opportunity. And then the third reminder is to think about karma, the laws of cause and effect, how our actions of body, speech, and mind impact ourselves and others. It matters what we think, what we say, what we do. And then the fourth reminder is that suffering and samsara is inevitable. It is the nature of cyclic existence. This being born into a situation where you die, get reborn, die, reborn, is part of our negative karma. It's what it keeps, it's, the grasping and craving that we have. In our world, it's a desire realm, all those things. Keeps us stuck in this cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Buddhists do not go through this. They are liberated from this kind of cycle. We see it as just natural. But it's actually a reflection of our minds. That's a big view. You may not believe that at all at this moment, these are hard to, we can't prove rebirth. You also can't disprove rebirth. There's just, a way of either way. So given those things, so like when you wake up in the morning, these are the ways you can kind of, if you remember these things, that can help set the tone for your day. And then you can find joy in having a windshield wiper that works. So it's the details. And that will end. But anyway. So let's recite the four immeasurables and the refuge and bodhicitta prayer. Shall I put them up? Shall I put them up? I have them too. It's a piece of cake. Hi, Elaine.
Share your screen for now.
Okay. Cool. So the four immeasurables is to encourage us to, always come back to the fact that we're not alone, and that we're not the only being that suffers, that we want to help. We can want to generate these wishes in our mind all the time so that it comes naturally whenever we see someone suffering, hear a story about someone who's suffering, so that it's just there for us. So it becomes a habit. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. Equanimity is the foundation for the other minds, because in order to feel this way about all sentient beings, you need to not respond to sentient beings with your bias. And then we recite on page 98 the refuge and bodhicitta prayer. Yeah, there it is. There we go. Whoop. There it is. So if you're comfortable reciting this, I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Okay, so I think last week we were talking about laziness. Does that ring a bell? What were we saying about laziness? We're off to a rousing start.
That it can be a cause of suffering.
Yes, it's definitely a cause of suffering. Laziness is an obstacle to wisdom. It's an obstacle to compassion. It's an obstacle to love. It's an obstacle to all virtues. So it's a negativity. It's an unskillful state of mind. And most of us really understand that when we look at procrastination in our own life. You know, it can get in the way, you know. So the three types of laziness they talk about in Buddhism are the laziness of procrastination, the laziness of sort of, I think it's easiest described as busyness. You know, that we get ourselves so busy, we can't practice, you know, and sometimes we get very busy with virtuous things, like we volunteer a lot, we do all sorts of things, you know, but we never sit down to reflect because we don't have time. We avoid actually thinking about, you know, our minds, our practice, our whatever, you know, and that's an obstacle. So whether it's, you know, reading murder mysteries like myself, or whether it's even, you know, getting yourself, you know, overly busy, do whatever it is, whether it's good stuff or not good stuff, if you don't take any time to, you know, study and reflect, you can't make progress. We need to have wisdom, and that requires some knowledge. If we just keep doing what we're doing, we end up in the same place, you know, so we need to add some information to what we're doing in order to, you know, be able to move forward. And then finally, there's the laziness of discouragement, where we think we can't do it. You know, it's my personal favorite because I recognize it so easily, you know, that feeling like, you know, I really can't do this. I've tried, I've given it a shot, do it. And then you just give yourself permission to quit, you know. So that's where the laziness part comes from, you know, that we're, you know, we allow ourselves to just not do it instead of having some confidence, you know, that maybe I can do it. Maybe you know, maybe it's going to take me a while to figure it out. You know? The good news is learning, and I think understanding doesn't come in sort of a, you know, you read this book and this happens, you know, it's different from that. So you can be going along and thinking, I don't understand anything I'm reading. And then one day you do. You know, you've just gotten so familiar with the words, you now know what they mean. You kind of start to get it, you know, and you won't be that you get the whole chapter. You get, oh, something will resonate with you in a way that it, you know, you've missed before, just never happened, you know. So it's sort of like trusting the process. You know, this is what, you know, the Buddhas, the teachers suggest. You know, this is what, you know, people way wiser than I have told us to do, you know. And so giving it a shot may be more than just trying 2 or 3 times. You know? And a lot of it is about not having expectations, you know, of any kind of particular result. I mean, there are times when I, you know, my mind, and I just kind of go, are you kidding me? I have been a nun for a long time now, and I still have this mind, you know, and, you know, and it's ridiculous to have that response. First of all, it's not helpful, you know, it kind of, you know, it misses the point. Now, maybe if I'd practiced really well for 20 years, 20 something years. I wouldn't have that mind anymore. But we can't eliminate our disturbing emotions, our disturbing states of mind, or our unskillful states of mind until we remove ignorance. So the potential for them to arise is there. You know, and usually because of forgetfulness, just kind of lose the plot. You know? And we get mad and we forget that, oh yeah, this isn't going to help me. You know, or we skip our meditation. Thinking I just can't be bothered today, or I need more sleep, you know, whatever. I mean, we come up with all sorts of excuses. So we want to be, yes.
Where would the laziness of entertainment?
The middle one, busyness.
That's my personal favorite.
Yes, yeah. It's, and you're not alone.
I fill my day with really relevant things, and then I don't have time, and I say,
Yeah.
when are you gonna grow up?
Yes. And that's a lot of it. When are you going to, and what did we talk about before about what helps us with this? You know, the faith of conviction. How do we develop the faith of conviction? Partly, you know, we remind ourselves of these things like you're running out of time. You know, news is you'll have more. But you want to have, you know, it's not enough to have time. You need good conditions with that time. So you're able to study, able to afford a Dharma book, able to meditate, you know. So it isn't, we have to, this is why remembering death is so important, because you run out of time. This will happen to you. This will happen to you. This will happen to you, to you, to you, to you. This will happen to me. This will happen. And we think, yeah, well, few years. Yes.
So a person that's like a workaholic,
Yep.
it's laziness.
It's a type of laziness. You're avoiding something.
You're avoiding other things.
Yep. Like you might be avoiding relationships. You might be avoiding aloneness. You might be avoiding, you know, whatever. You may just simply not know there's something else you could be doing. You know, maybe just such a habit. You think the only way to be a grown-up or be a responsible adult is to be a workaholic. You know, who knows what's in their mind, but it's certainly not complete. You know.
Any type of addiction for that matter.
Yeah, but not all of it's addiction. A lot of it, I mean, we're stuck in the desire realm. That's the, you know, our particular rebirth is called, we're reborn in the desire realm. So what's our main mind? Why would they call it that?
It's kind of a clue.
Yeah, it's a kind of a clue. Can anybody relate besides Jamie? You know, if we just ticked, you know, wrote a little mark on our hand every time we desired something through the day, we'd have to use both hands and probably both feet, you know, because we go from, you know, we desire our shower to be the right temperature. We desire, you know, our coffee to be ready when we wake up or some such thing. You know, we have nothing but a series of desires, you know. And the Buddha is suggesting maybe you want to think about something else. Maybe you're not happy because satisfying desire never stays. All it does is give you space, you know, when you've done that, then there's what's next. And then we start thinking about, you know, the morning break, and then lunch, and then the afternoon snack, and then dinner.
But then sitting down for meditation,
Mhm.
is that also because I desire the outcome of it? Or the effect
Desire
of it?
for something virtuous is different Now, desire to become a great meditation master so that you can show others just how good you are is not virtuous. So it depends. We have to, this is where the wisdom mind has to come in. We have to be able to recognize, okay, yes, meditation is important. Now, if your child comes knocking on the door while you're meditating and says, I think I broke my arm, you quit meditating, So it's not this all or nothing thing. It really depends. And we need to develop our wisdom and our honesty, that honest reflection where we look at what we're doing and going, is this useful? I say I want to be able to, control, harness my mind towards good stuff, but instead I'm watching all these shows that really encourage me to be more impatient, more, I don't know, whatever. Violent, yeah, a lot of it's violence. A lot of it's sex, so it's romance, just that. I'm a sucker for that first kiss in a movie. I mean, it's pathetic. I mean, I can feel the energy of that. You can see how well my relationships worked out, So it's just, so this is, we all get hooked by things. And are they skillful? I think romance movies, one of the worst things that's ever happened to relationships. Because their relationships aren't like that. It's just ridiculous. And it's just, and we, and there are times of year that's all that's on. Anyway, that's my soapbox. Okay. But this is about the desire realm. This is why we do things like that. We built a whole industry on very attractive people being up on these huge screens, doing things that we either envy or will never do in our whole lives, or, imagine that, oh, that's what it must feel like to be safe, to have someone like that, with me to take care of things, whatever, or protect our planet from the aliens who are always mean, except ET. So, but it's just a reflection of our desires. One of our desires, one of our core desires is to not die, not be killed, not to be sick, not, all those things, and to be safe, And then we have once we have the requisites, okay, we have some shelter, we have clothes, we have food, then we want better shelter, better clothes, better food. Yeah.
I love to shop, but I found that when I ask myself, do I really need this? That 9 times out of 10, I don't really need it. And so that helps, just asking that.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, what I do, part of it is like, okay, how is this going to serve the environment when it ends up in the landfill? Do I really want to add something else to that?
So when you're aware about this,
Yes,
it helps.
it helps.
It helps a
It
lot.
makes
Yeah,
you
that's the
aware
key of
now.
all this, right? We've talked a lot about trying to develop our awareness from moment to moment. And that requires some mindfulness, some concentration, some introspection, the ability to keep, oh yeah, that's right. And initially it feels so hard, but it gets easier. Our minds are really quick. So then once we train ourselves to be in the habit of noticing, it gets good at it. If we're motivated to do it. If we're not trying to avoid things, if we're not trying to find entertainment. Because it's not always exciting to watch our minds. Yes.
Well, sometimes I can
myself with the shopping thing. I shop at the Goodwill
Okay,
or
so,
the Salvation.
yeah,
So I can fool myself by saying, oh, but the money's going for a good cause.
right. Oh, yeah, that's
That's
a
what I'm
personal
saying. I
favorite.
know that. I'm doing that. I'm saying, yeah, well, it's only $3 for this. So it's $3. Okay, but it's going someplace good.
Yeah.
But do I
But the-
need it?
Do you need it? And also, how about just giving them the money?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Shocker. You know, we have a very consumer, culture. You know, we need to get something in return. That's one of our problems. That's all about desires. Yeah, I'll help you. What's in it for me? That's just a reflection of our desire, realm, mind, and our ignorance. You know? So we need to recognize these things and go, oh, look at this pattern of thought. You know, is it helpful or not? Is it skillful or not? In the end of the day, does it make my life really better or not? You know, or am I just chasing the little sense pleasures all day long, thinking that somehow that's the meaning of life? So it's helpful to think about some of these things, like, how when you at the end of the year, we have a habit of like going, resolutions or something, we start but we're thinking about, okay, I promised last year that I would do this. And, I didn't, or I did it for 3 weeks. So that's that kind of mind. We want to look at, like, what I practice is when you're on your deathbed and you're reviewing your life, what do you want to see? Do you want to see that, walk-in closet that's filled with all the perfect things to wear? Is it all, is it about stuff? Most of us don't think about that. We can't even imagine that being what we think about. So we want to really value that. That's wisdom. The fact that we know that is wisdom. So it's not that we don't know. We don't know what to replace it with. So, a spiritual path might bring meaning to your life if you practice it. It won't do it if you don't practice it. Drat. And we all do this. We all, lest I forget, there's also the power of relinquishment, my favorite power. So it isn't that it's all work and no play. There's also the power of relinquishment where you recognize, okay, I need to rest. And that can be every day. You need some rest, And it's so important to practice joy. You have really good conditions. Wow. That's all from virtue. That's all from skillful actions. So, yeah.
What if someone has the mission to be grateful, but they don't feel grateful?
Well, that's their mind. That's the childish mind. That's still looking for something. Yeah, but I don't have what I want. It's not exactly what I want. Whatever. I mean, it's just, it's a not, and it's also not recognizing how much better you feel when you appreciate what you have. And that can take practice. Not everybody had that modeled for us, or we weren't paying any attention. So being able to recognize, this is where it's really helpful to have that global view, to stand back and realize, I really have it good. What do you think is the obstacle to that?
Right.
About what? Pride.
Proud about what you portray, the way they show up, and what people's idea of you are.
So your pride is getting in the way of being able to realize how good you have it.
Yes, the pride is the opposite of, to me, the pride is the opposite of humble. And the humble is where a lot of the virtues come from, the way I look at it.
Okay, but we're talking about a different kind of, so,
I think just habit.
okay,
It's the-
habit,
It's the habit of
so,
either counting your blessings
or not.
not doing the opposite, looking at what everybody else has and saying, oh, if I had that, I'd be happy. But everybody has their own trouble.
So that, okay, well, we're talking about obstacles, arrogance, that might go on with the pride thing. Entitlement. I think entitlement gets closer, probably. Yes. Fear. Fear is a kind of attachment. It's attached to some sort of thing you want, whether it's more, whether it's safety, whatever it is. It's a type of, like fear is a feeling you're going to lose something you need. It's not actually usually happening in that moment. It's just in the mind. We're creating a scenario in our mind, but it's about attachment to whatever it is you think you need, and you're afraid of losing it. And so that's what's taking over your mind, is that fear of losing it. And that's what the eight worldly concern's all about, the pain, gain. No, that's not, those don't go together, even though they rhyme.
Pain, pleasure.
Pain, pleasure, gain, loss, praise, criticism, and fame and ill repute. These are our big, this is what basically runs our lives, of those concerns. Yes.
I think like we go through problems and issues all the time that we have to deal with. I think that the identification with these things that are going on in our lives kind of blind us to see all the merits, everything that.
And that's, yes, that's right. And so, yes, we have blinders on because we are get caught up in just our day, and we're not noticing these things. This is, again, why we need to not busy ourselves to death.
Also not knowing about gratitude.
Yes, if you don't know anything about gratitude, you have to practice it. You have to learn. And one of these ways is to step back and compare. What is your life like, compared to people in Ukraine? What is your life like compared to, the ghettos in New York City? What is your life like compared to the drug cartel zone in the border of Mexico? To really take, those are people. They're not just, news stories. These are people who are experiencing this. That could be you. Might be you in the next life. Yes.
You can consider it that way. Isn't it more, I feel like I feel guilty.
You can choose to feel guilty, but that's all about you. That's like, oh, poor me. Look how good I have it. Isn't that kind of ridiculous? I mean, if we really think about it, what we should be doing, if we look at karma, this is that other reminder. We have to think about karma, right? What is the cause of our good stuff?
Good karma.
Good actions.
Good actions.
Okay, so we can rejoice. And this is the thing. the previous caretaker of your mind stream did a very good job. Not you. It's part of you, but it's not the story you got going now. That's going to determine what your next life's like. So that, you know, the short answer is, if you want to know about your previous lives, your actions of previous lives, look at your conditions now. If you want to know about future lives, look at your mind. You know, so guilt, what you can replace guilt with is gratitude. And we don't need to feel guilty, because it's good things that do this. We want to rejoice in that. You know, it's because it's not in the object. What's good in this world isn't going to be good in some other world. You know, that's not the point. It's that we like it. The fact that we experience pleasantness is a result of past actions. Yes, Hernan.
Ling has a raise.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hi, Elaine. What's up?
You said something about the caregiver of our consciousness. What did you mean?
Well, this is my mental trick. Okay. So we have a what's that called? Continuum of consciousness of mind that's existed since beginningless time. What is that? It's not a stream. It's not like a string. You hold it and it goes back and back and back and back and back. It's very, very long, you know. It's a series of moments that are related to one another. You know, the past moment is the cause of the next moment, etc. When it goes on and it goes backwards. You know. So since I'm not enlightened yet, I'm not liberated yet, then there's been an ordinary being taking care of this mind stream from, you know, every life. As a, you know, mosquito, as a slug, as, you know, human beings occasionally, you know, as, you know, whatever. Dentist, chauvinistic, sadistic dentist, you know. So it's true. I mean, I don't know that for a fact. It makes sense. So we really, you know, a good way to avoid this feeling of guilt that, oh, I've got it so good, or this feeling of pride. Look at me. I've done lots of things right. You know, is to remember it wasn't part of this storyline that you got going. And so I just look at it as, you know, the previous caretakers of this mind stream, you know, as the ones responsible for this life. Now I'm responsible for the future lives. You know, am I doing such a good job? You know, so
What about,
just a second.
Yeah.
Elaine, does that help? Okay.
what about if you have a terrible childhood, but then you become, you change your
Attitude.
attitude, your destiny, whatever, and you end up having a very,
It's just different karma streams ripening.
so, say that again, please?
It's not one seed that ripens in our life.
Right.
It's whole bunches. Every moment is a karmic seed ripening. Every moment is a karmic seed being placed on our mind stream. So there's 65. 65 more. You know, so lots of things, you know. So the moment of death helps determine what ripens for this life, the mind at the moment of death. You know. So we were lucky. It's not really luck, but you know, so the person, this mind stream, and the previous, you know, before this body, not this particular body, but whatever body they had died, they had a good mind at the time of death, and which is what helps be born human. Then there are other things called completed karmas that help determine like conditions and all that stuff. And it's quite a mixed bag. And everything, one of the reasons we want to appreciate our good conditions, because they change. Christopher Reeve's life changed. You know, he still had good conditions. He did. you know? What's his name? The Russian opposition person who's dead now, Navalny, you know, gone, finished, young man, you know. When you shake our head, it happens all the time. People, you know, Madoff, Bernie Madoff, making all that money and then, got caught, you know. And then there are people who don't get caught. Guess what they're creating the cause for in the future? Yep.
When you come back,
When you,
you come back as a dog,
Yep.
person, and you're like.
it depends on what happens at the time of death. Yep. That's just considered a lower realm rebirth.
Wait, you don't keep going. Go,
No,
go.
no.
You just-
Look at your mind. Have you perfected anything?
Going.
Like you're a person, when you come back as a dog.
Yep.
If you were a person, it's like evolution.
No,
There's
no, it's not like
evolution.
a evolution at all.
You understand?
Yeah, because I think the gods can come back as cockroaches.
Oh yeah, but in fact, they're likely to because they're bringing up all their good karma.
That's why in Buddhism you shouldn't kill a roach or anything because
Right.
it could be you the next life.
Right. And not only that, you're creating the cause to be that in the next life. It's both. It's nobody judging you over here saying, ah, bad girl.
Gonna come back as a roach.
No, it's just cause and effect. You created if you step on roaches and you go, you're creating the cause to be killed that way in the future.
That's why you should.
That's why you shouldn't kill a roach.
Well, that's-
If you have to get back to what's in it for me is not getting stomped on to death.
I
You
have
know?
a question. I have a question about killing
Yes,
insects. So my son, when he was a teenager, he killed
Yeah.
something. I can't remember what it was. And I pointed out to him, you shouldn't kill insects because of the theory we're talking about. And he said, well, then I just did him a favor because he's gone and he can come back as something else now. And I had
Yep.
I kind of agreed with it. I had no answer to that.
It's
I
true.
thought, why not?
This is why this is true. This is why we really want to generate strong compassion for the harm doer.
Mm.
It's the person doing harm that's creating the cause to be harmed in the future. The person being harmed is having a negative seed ripen and exhausted. That's finished. It's wild, isn't it? It's a whole big view. This is why euthanasia isn't taught in Buddhism, because you don't know what the next life's going to be. So you might think you're doing them a great favor, but they might be born in a hell realm, and we don't know. It's complicated though. That doesn't mean people who have put their animals to sleep or whatever, that they are doomed. It's not like that. But the point is with our limited knowledge, bodhisattvas can know the minds of their cats. No. So it's, it's different. But if, so to be on the safe side, and whose safe side? Our safe side. You don't want to kill, but this is why, His Holiness has said, if you really have true compassion for something that's in great physical pain and isn't ever going to come out of it, he could understand why people would make that choice. And even, he's even said that if someone, like a person, is in a hospital and they're not, and they're on life support and the family is is losing all their money and there's nothing, it might be okay to turn off the machines. Because first of all, well, not just kidding, there's all sorts of reasons. It gets complicated. Anyway, but overall, in general, you don't want to kill things because first, it creates a cause for you to receive that same treatment in the future. And because you don't know what's going to happen to that living being in terms of being reborn. It'll be reborn. It has the same kind of mind we have. It just has a terrible physical support.
So that cockroach,
Mhm.
did it stay state of mind, how does it ever get out of that realm of being a karma?
Because his karma exhaust.
Oh.
Like our karma for
Exhaust
being
your
a human just exhaust. That's the end of our lifespan in this life. When we're born, we already have a lifespan. It's been determined by that karmic seed that ripened for this life. We can have untimely deaths, so we might not live our full lifetime. So the next life we're, live 3 days. But yeah, no, I just love watching expressions. No, I'm not finished. I'm not finished. So every karmic seed, when it ripens, exhaust. Which is why once it's ripened, you can't really purify it because it's already happening. Now the way we respond to whatever is happening really can change how we might be suffering, in that moment and in future moments. It can also help us in that whatever habitual pattern we had that created the cause for this experience can be kind of shortened, but the way we get out of hell realms and animal realms and hungry ghost realms and God realms is the karma exhaust.
I don't think I've ever heard.
Yep, well, there it is. Come Thursday night.
Is this what you're going to be teaching
Yes.
on Thursday nights?
Yes.
So
So
would you say that if something new or different is happening in my life now, that's a karmic seed that's ripening?
yeah. Everything that happens to us, everything, every experience we have, every moment of pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral is a result of a karmic action. Everything. Yeah.
So
Yes.
the exhausting of something like anger and
No, you don't. No. No. Anger is a state of mind. Consciousness exists always, just exist. Till we break the habit of anger or have a direct realization of emptiness, we have the tendency towards anger. So it can arise given whatever conditions they are. We can train ourselves. This is the whole point of developing concentration, awareness of ourselves, of our thoughts, paying attention so that we can go, I need to break this habit because it's not going to work out well because I'm going to harm that cockroach.
exactly. So not to slam the cockroach any longer is helping me
To no longer
no longer
have the results of killing, but it has to be kind of pervasive, not killing this cockroach, only carries you so far. You got to think about how many cockroaches you killed. If you came from New Orleans or Florida, you probably killed a lot. So, that's my background. So, okay. So come Thursday nights. But this is why, we want to remember these things, whatever grabs you. You're like, okay, maybe I don't want to experience being stomped to death. Okay, so, whatever grabs you, we want to think about these things as a way to develop the reminder, think about karma, think about impermanence, think about death, think about, that we have really good conditions, but they're not going to last. They might last this whole life, but you're going to die. So the mind at the time of death, if you have a tendency to grasp, like, oh, not yet. Or you're angry. I can't believe I got this illness. Or why me? Those are really not good minds to die with. So how do we avoid that? We practice not having those minds now. We develop a habit of not responding to negative conditions with a mind that thinks it's not fair. You know, because all you have to do is step back with that global perspective and say, who am I kidding? Everybody has this kind of suffering. It's not avoidable. It's just my turn. And I created the cause for that. So how I respond, does that mean you should just be, you know, never mind. So it's a really big view. The good news is it's not like you have to have all this in your mind all the time. It's some basics like, do I want to waste my good conditions in this way? You know, like with entertainment or chocolate cake. Do I want, you know, and it always depends. It's not like it's wrong to have chocolate cake or wrong to watch a movie or wrong to, I don't know, ride go-karts, although that's probably not good for the environment, but almost everything we do is bad for the environment. So, you know, but it's like proportion, you know. So do you eat the whole chocolate cake? That's probably never a good idea, you know. So it's developing your wisdom so you're able to go, this is something I'm trying to abandon. Not the eating of the chocolate cake. What are you trying to abandon? Yes, grasping and craving and giving into it. You know, just because I want it doesn't mean you should have it. You know, is that the meaning of your life? Just to keep getting these little nice little things. You know? And it's not easy in our society. Our good conditions are a condition for craving. You know, that's why we're still in desire realm, you know. That's all right. It's, you know, we've got the wonderful thing as human beings, we have this wonderful physical support for our mind so that we can learn, we can analyze, we can investigate, we can do it differently. We can choose, you know, and you can learn how to not think that way. These are just habits of mind. They're not karmic seeds ripening. It's a habit of mind. You know, and one habit of mind leads to another more, you know, I mean, that's what it does. This moment of anger can give rise to the next moment of anger if you don't intervene. And that's what we're trying to learn how to do. And we do that by helping ourselves develop concentration so we can focus, remember. Mindfulness is just another word for remembering, you know, not forgetting. What do we want to be mindful of? Oh, because, you know, I want happiness. Kindness. And kindness leads to good things. Kindness leads you to not harming others. You know, so you get it down to real simple things like, I don't want to harm. So we have to think before we act so we don't harm. I don't want to waste these good conditions.
And you're not.
How do you not kill a cockroach? You let it live. You know, you learn how to catch them and bring it outside. We used to take them around stupas. We had in the nun's house in Australia had an invasion of those little bitty cockroaches. I mean, you could not walk out of your room at night. You know, you turn on the light and the floor would just practically be covered. So we'd sweep them up. We put them in a bucket that had oil on it. And then the next day we would walk around the stupa. That's called ripening sentient beings.
The opportunity last week, there was a little tiny bug walking across my windshield. And my 5-year-old was in the back seat and said, "Oh, smash it." And I said, "No, I don't want to do that. It's just wants to be happy." So I pulled the car over. I don't even know what it was. It was so small. put it outside. So it was a little lesson.
That's easy, but it was a big one.
Doesn't matter.
I
Doesn't matter.
big ones like that too. And
Is it really worth your future getting stomped on for a cockroach? Now, if you're a pregnant woman and you're about to be bit by a Zika mosquito, it might be worth it to you. Okay. But you have to really think, is this thing going to really harm me? Or can I just take it out? You know? I had to really learn how to take spiders out because they're big spiders in Australia.
I do that with lizards.
Okay, there you go. You got talent. So hey, you know,
With cockroach.
they're harder.
I know. I grew up in New Orleans. Trust me. I have so much negative karma that, I'm probably going to be born in a nest
Get
of
a
cockroaches.
wet paper towel or rag, throw it on it. Usually it'll cover enough space and then scoop it up, put it outside to do that.
It's a skill.
It's killing me. You'll teach me later.
And it's just one of those things, though. You're only going to do it if you're convinced there's a good reason to do it. And you don't even have to go so far as I don't want to be stomped in the future life. All you can think is, why would I want to harm something? Why would I mean, when you think about stepping on something that's alive, can you imagine something proportionally that much bigger than you stepping on you? How terrifying that is. No wonder they scurry away. I mean, it's just like, oh my goodness. So you just have to use some thought. This is a living being. If you wouldn't do it to your cat, why do you want to do it to a cockroach? If you wouldn't do it to your kid, why would you do it to a cockroach? I mean, it's sort of like that. It's just, yeah, Graziella. You're muted, Graziella.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So this is about anger. We think of anger as something we want to avoid. Is it possible that anger can be channeled and used as an impetus to do something different or right?
Anger isn't the cause of that. Like anger might be the trigger for you to realize that something's wrong here. But it's a different state of mind that wants to right the wrong. It's not anger.
What might be this? Because it would be just subsequent, or it would be
that moment of anger might be the starting point, but that doesn't change the fact that the moment of anger is the desire to harm. I must stop you from doing this. But we can take, so that's sometimes the beginning spot, but it doesn't have to be. Wisdom can also lead you to want to right a wrong, to change laws, to write letters, to do all those kind of things, So it's not that, but right now, go ahead.
So a moment of anger could be followed by a moment of wisdom. That would be
if you pause, yes. A moment of anger does not naturally give rise to a moment of wisdom. You have to choose to go there. Now that can become a habit, where you realize, okay, when I'm angry, a lot of times the reason I'm angry is because I have a desire to right some wrong. I see something that's just not justified or unjust or however you want to put it. So I want to, work on that. So you can see that as, okay, if I'm angry, let me check what's going on here and what can I do about it? So you're choosing to look for a solution. But, it's a choice. And then that can become your habit, So that's a good use of the next moment. And it's a good habit to develop, But if you realize that your anger arises for many reasons, one of which may be because you've seen an injustice, but you also, a lot of times it's just because you didn't get what you wanted.
I read an acronym, ABC, so it's awareness, what's happening, behavior for B, and C for choosing. I think if you sort of follow that framework, it really helps.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
Yeah, it's a framework.
Yeah. I mean, it's, we just need to recognize that if we take the time, we can make a choice. We don't have to follow the energy of our state of mind. So if our energy says, oh, I want to goof off today, and I'm going to goof off this way, we can then go, really? If I die tonight, am I going to be happy that this is how I spent my time? And your answer might be, yeah, that wouldn't be too bad. So, I mean, I'm not, you got to think. But it's just that we know we have patterns of behavior that are not all that skillful or not always skillful, then we need to find ways to pause, to actually notice when it happens and then go, I don't have to follow this energy. Just because I think it doesn't make it what I need to do. Just because I want it doesn't mean it's going to lead to happiness. No. Just because everybody around me thinks this is the way to happiness doesn't mean it is. It's like, it's like things like the habit of shopping. If you realize you don't need anything, give your money away. Every time you have the urge, you can go shopping. And every time you see something, you write down, okay, that was, $63. This is da da da. And you don't buy anything, you just donate the money. Well, I mean, it's like, when I first became a nun, well, it may have been before that, but I think it was when I first became a nun, I treat every store as a museum. And I can go, and then you can go into really expensive stores that way. And you think, this is just lovely. Look at the craftsmanship of this. Isn't this beautiful? And you don't have to have it. You can just enjoy it, just like you would a museum. It's like, this is our mind. We're already making up stories. Let's make up better ones. Yeah, constantly. That's all we do. So we need to recognize that our thoughts are determining our world. On the little scale, just like me being so delighted driving all the way here this morning just because I had a windshield wiper that worked. I was so delighted. I mean, I can't tell you, I was giggling with excitement. It just because I was aware of how much I was enjoying this, this is what we're like, and there's nothing wrong with enjoying what is working out well. That's, as long as we understand that it's not about the windshield wiper. It's some sort of positive action in our past that's ripening that way. So then that's that kind of thing. I have such good conditions. Yay. May I continue to do those things that provide good conditions so I can meet the Dharma life after life until I finally get out of samsara and become enlightened and can help others. You just say that fast a lot. And then you're able to, these things become habitual too. But you have to think it's worth it. So that's why I think it's so important to always be reading an inspiring book and a book that helps you practice. Like if you need trouble, if you have trouble meditating, then you read how to meditate. You do things that help you with the practice, but you also need the ones that just make you feel good to read them. I love people who think that way. Oh, wouldn't that be wonderful to think that way all the time? That kind of thing. Heartwarming, kind of, oh, that's so lovely. Because we feel that way. Human beings are full of this of compassion, of love, of warmth, of kindness, all these things. So we want to encourage those things. Those are good things. But it's nice that they're in a Dharma context, not that, oh, look at those two. They solved a murder and fell in love. How wonderful. I can't. I wasted so much of my life watching those things. So, or reading them. Mostly I read them.
We want to encourage that by setting a good example.
Yeah, and I'm not doing that. So just, this is why you don't spend too much time close to your teacher. They actually teach that. If you spend too much time with your teacher, then you might get, your expectations might get dashed. Yeah.
You could say, they're showing me
The
the attributes
aspect
that I
of,
want.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, even this is wasting time, so yes. No, yeah, that's the way you learn to think, but it's like, but then others have the merit, I think about Venerable Roger and Venerable Holly, who've been, like Venerable Roger's been attendant secretary, all sorts of stuff to Lama Zopa Rinpoche for 40 years, I think it was. And Venerable Holly was his secretary for almost as long. And so they had the merit to be around this person who never thought about himself. And what that must have been like to, just see that in action all the time. Yeah, unbelievable. Now, of course, you're going to have somebody who does that and doesn't get it at all, because it's not an object, it's in our perception of the object. But the good news is that, holy beings, they create an energy that we're all benefiting from. Except Devadatta, apparently. Devadatta's in the stories about the Buddha. He was a cousin or something. He's always trying to best the Buddha. But my teacher used to say, I'm gotta wonder though, he spent all that time with the Buddha. Don't you think he was probably one too? And he's just modeling how not to treat a Buddha. So hard to know. It won't always be hard to know. Someday we'll be able to know. But, if we don't work, we won't get there. If we don't make the effort, it won't happen. It's not magic. It's not like, oh, I finally had enough lives, so now I'll finally get it right. Nah, it's not like that. No. So, what do you think? Have I talked about anything I planned to? Let's see. So the definition of effort in the Tibetan canon of studies is a mind that is enthusiastic in regard to armoring. That means putting on the armor of bodhicitta, application, the Dharma, non-inferiority. That's that antidote to discouragement. You are good enough. You have what you need in order to do this. You may not have the skills yet, but you have the basis for it. You have a mind that can do it. Irreversibility means, that you've developed your persistence enough to where you're not going to go back to being lazy. You might in the next life, but the odds are good, if you've got a strong habit that you'll carry it over. What you hope is that you don't become a workaholic, so that your direction's about making money, not about your mind and spiritual practice. But if you do the other things, like, dedicate your efforts to the Dharma, to becoming a Buddha so that you can benefit sentient beings, then that creates the cause for Dharma resources in the future. So you have some control over that by how you dedicate. That's why I'm saying intentions at the beginning and then dedicating at the end, and making it really a good dedication, like, may these merits not exhaust until everyone's become enlightened. It's like adding a drop of water to the ocean and knowing that it's not going to disappear until the ocean disappears, because it becomes one with the ocean. So So until we're able to develop the wisdom that realizes reality as it is, we need to develop our concentration, our mindfulness, our introspection, our wisdom to subdue all these things, so that we, it's not that, we've eliminated the seeds of anger or whatever. It's that we just don't, we're practicing something differently, So it subdues the mind. So it only takes care of the symptoms, because until we remove our ignorance is our foundation for all these wrong views, So until we uproot that, the possibility of these states of mind arising again is there. But the more we subdue our minds, the less likely they will get in our way before we realize emptiness. It's sort of like that. So once you achieve bodhicitta, this mind that's 24/7 is thinking only about, will this effort benefit others, leading to enlightenment in order to benefit others, And then, so once you've achieved that takes a lot of concentration to develop that 24/7, where it's spontaneous. You don't have to think about it anymore. It's there. That propels you forward, because you have that mind, you're never going to want to do things that hurt people. You're never going to want to do things that, you're not going to be encouraging any negative mind at all, and then you keep achieving more and more resolve that, to be like that. And then, and then you're gathering wisdom and merit and blah, blah, blah. And you're setting up the stage for you to realize emptiness, and be liberated from samsara. And then you just have to remove the last little taints of, these habits from your mind stream, and you'll remove ignorance entirely and become a Buddha. But you're already liberated from samsara. So the last work is done while your mind is a state of peace. So somehow I don't think the work's too hard then. Because what gets in our way? Our minds. The mind that wants to, feel good. And of course, the only way we know how to do that in the desire realm is to keep chasing desires. And it's a mistake. I'm wondering if the fact that you're also on Zoom is part of the problem.
I thought about that, but I joined after all the problems were happening.
Yeah. Because that's 3 of us on the Zoom.
But it was happening even before I joined. I only joined once people started making comments.
I don't know what the deal is. Anyway. Yeah. Yeah. Well, y'all all look great on my computer, so none of y'all are pixelated.
It might work better if it was, what's it called?
Gallery view.
Yeah. The size.
You change the view to gallery.
Well, but the days if you're not in gallery, it doesn't look like that. So
Well, just put it on gallery, because that means these people can see the folks at home. And I don't have to look at my big face over there. So I have no pride. I love getting old. Do. All right.
Patty has her hand raised.
Yeah, Patty. Yeah, I can see it. If I just understood what that meant.
Hi, Venerable Tendrin. Thank you very much for your teaching today. It's good to see you. Quick question. Can we go back to Australia, cockroaches, bucket, stupa, and oil in the bucket? Can you tell me about that?
Put oil at the rim of the bucket, the top of the rim. They can't crawl out.
Oh.
It doesn't kill them, but they just don't, a bucket, the sides are kind of, they're not like rough. So it's smooth. So it's harder to climb. Not that cockroaches have a whole lot of trouble with that. but the oil at the top helps them from crawling out. And so they would still be there in the morning so we could go around the stupa.
Does that work with ants also?
Yes.
Cockroaches fly.
Yes, I'm very familiar with that. I'm not, I'm not saying that the cockroach has the karma for you to walk him around a stupa or her. We have to deal with that. You know,
Eventually letting free out of.
yeah, but after you walk around the stupa, then we let them, because you don't want to let them off right next to the house because they'll just come back, you know. But it's just, but as soon as there was one nun who was from the US, from Tennessee, and as soon as she left, there were no cockroaches in the house. So I think between her and me, we were creating the cause for that. I certainly have never lived in a place without cockroaches.
You were the contributing factor.
That was a
She
contributing factor to that karma. It was ripening for us both. But so, we just don't know what's going on. We think we know. And then Buddha just said, guess what? It's all cause and effect. And our consciousness is part of it. Our mental actions are part of it. It's not just physical stuff. And if we really logically look at that, of course that's got to be true. It's our consciousness that builds these buildings, builds streets, builds orchards, apple orchards. If there was no consciousness, those things wouldn't arise. We made them arise. Our mind said, oh, look, an apple tree. I bet you we could make more. But it's a mind that chooses to do that. Yeah.
So someone who has a mental illness.
Uh-huh.
Now that's not the mind, that's the brain.
No,
Is that
it could be the brain, but it can also be the mind.
So then
They create the cause for that. Yeah.
they created the cause for that.
Everything we experience, we created the cause for. So it means in this life, they don't have a perfect human rebirth because they're not able to, they don't have the support they need for their mind. So that might be physical, because it might be a brain issue, a chemical issue. It could be all sorts of things, brain damage, head injuries, the worst. So, but it could also be that their mind, their habits have gone so far, in one direction that it manifests as something that we would consider mental illness in this life.
Is that taken into account at all?
No one is judging. It is cause and effect. It's just cause and effect. It's not a Buddha sitting around. The Buddha was a human being just like us who suffered from the same ignorance. It's just cause and effect. We are so accustomed to thinking in terms of being judged. That doesn't exist here. There's no judger. Yeah. Elaine.
Well, now that you went on, I have like double questions, but I'm a little stuck on the cockroach situation. So I live in a condo.
Well, just, don't worry about it.
I'm not worried about it. I kind of am now because I'm starting to feel like, what if I come back with little antennae? And I don't want to live with cockroaches, and I have an exterminator that comes every month. So
you do purification.
He's a paid killer.
Elaine, listen to me. Listen to me. Do purification every month. I mean, most of us have contracts for termites because you can't own property without it. It's like a law. Most condo buildings have exterminators come. They might just do the outside or whatever. Yeah, we're all responsible for killing. You can't eat without killing. Lots of things die in the growing of plants. Who are we kidding? Well, our mere existence on this planet is the result, we have the habit of killing, and it continues in this life. So being arrogant about our, but we should try the best we can. Yeah.
What is your
Okay, purification. We just did a class on Thursday nights on that. Purification is a way to work with your mind in order to change the habit so that you stop the habit. So it involves 4 opponent powers, which are regret. You have to sincerely regret the harm, not sit there going, oh, but cockroaches are gross. You have to understand they've been harmed and regret it. Regret that you have this instinct that says, I don't like them, so I can kill them. Because that's what's going on in your mind. You know? So we have to honestly take responsibility that I wanted this thing dead. You know, and that caused harm. That took the life force away from this living thing. You know? So you genuinely regret it. You rely on the teachings. You know, that's reliance is another thing. So you rely on teachings, and you know, you're also going to be relying on sentient beings. The sentient beings were a condition for your negative action. They're also a condition for all our positive actions. You know, and so we're relying on them, you know, that by regretting, we're acknowledging that they also, you know, want to be happy and don't want to suffer. You know. Then we do a remedy, which can be recitation of Buddhist, you know, 35 Buddhas, recitation of Bodhisattva mantra, recitation of the 4 immeasurables, can be anything that is virtuous. And it's done as the idea of a remedy to this attitude we have. So it's kind of helpful if it's something not easy to do, so that you feel like, I'm not going to want to repeat this because I don't want to have to do 100,000 Bodhisattvas again. At least that's my mind. Anyway, so, and then you resolve to not do it again in whatever length of time is realistic. Like for me, impatience is something that I resolve every day to not do for about 3 seconds. And then I count. You know, because you don't want to lie. And then you try to expand 5 seconds. Maybe today will be 5. You know, but it's a mental action. All of this is about the mind. You know, we can purify any action we've ever done, any negativity. You know, you can be a brutal serial killer like Angulimala. It's one of the Buddha stories. He killed 999 people, and then he was going to kill 1,000. That was what he set out to do. And then the 1,000th person he was going to kill was a Buddha. The Buddha said, well, let's see if we can think about other things. You know, and he became enlightened, I think, or became an arhat in that life. But that's the merit of meeting a Buddha. You see, that's what a mixed bag we are. Here's this person who's going around killing people, and he has the karma to meet Shakyamuni Buddha on the road. Yeah, so it's cause and effect. It's not someone out there going, ooh, you know, you're a bad person. It's not about that. It's about skillfulness and recognizing what leads to harm to ourselves and others. So that's the short course in purification. All right, I'm tired now. Okay, so. And this is not saying, okay, anybody who can now kill the cockroach after this is, you know. We have a full life, and we have the opportunity to create so many non-virtues, you know, like going home and thinking the Buddha's nuts for thinking that I have to worry about a cockroach. That's not a good mind to have. You can go, I'm not going to be able to do that, and set it aside. You know, but to say, oh no, it's perfectly fine to crush the life out of someone because I want to. Yeah.
I just changed my mind. I'm going to be grateful for the cockroach to show up.
Yes.
So I can practice my
Not slamming it. Absolutely.
and learn not to do it.
This is the way we rely on sentient beings. They are our best friends because they are a condition for us to overcome all of these negative states of mind. And it's really only sentient beings. Nothing else will do it. So. So just remember to wake up thinking, I have really good conditions. How can I use this day in the best way? Not to harm others and to, maybe benefit them. You don't have to be able to recite, the entire Lam Rim Chenmo, which is the entire graduated path to enlightenment. So, okay. All right, let's read prayers because we have tons to rejoice. We're thinking about, how to rescue the lives of sentient beings we normally think of, just getting rid of. That's kind of cool. So on page 246, thank you. So rejoice a bit, because what we're doing is we're taking the positive efforts that we've planted today, little positive imprints on our mind stream, and those are going to ripen as some sort of pleasantness in the future, and we're giving away that to others. Can we actually give it away to others? No. So you don't have to worry, you can't lose. But it's about developing the mind that's always wanting to benefit others. That's your main thought. Okay. May all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then, may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. And then page 244 for His Holiness's long life prayer. Just to mention this, my teacher's house in Australia got invaded with termites and they had to kill them. So the teacher, and all the nuns, all that did lots and lots of prayers, but it wasn't like, we have to be practical. It's just, now he wouldn't have killed human beings to do that. Just to be clear. Okay. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chenrezi, Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. And then I think on what page is it on the 334? Do you have this prayer? I'll get it. I have it.
Oh, yeah, it's a separate document.
Oh, it's a separate
It's on
document.
the desktop, I think, but
You had it open. It was on a different tab.
In the book, it's in 230.
oh,
234 in the book.
okay, it was in the. I hope he does that. Same,
Yeah.
same-
Until you,
same window.
I always turn it off.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not helpful.
Yeah.
Okay. Peerless teacher and assembly of the children, the victorious ones, Travagas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losam father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now, holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice. You wore the armor of patience that's never discouraged. Incomparable, venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and for mother living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. Okay, so this week on Thursday night, we start karma from 7 to 8:30, and it's also on Zoom. And on Saturday, we have a day of practice of the medicine Buddha sadhana. So it's like a little retreat day. It starts at 9:30, it ends at 4. Bring your lunch. Do I need to say anything more about that?
No,
Help.
that's all. I need to talk to you about that setup.
Okay. And if you got the empowerment to do this practice, you might want to print out the practice booklet from FBMT. And we will, it'll be also on Zoom, so we'll have it on the screen.